Hello, 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 and welcome to our AGN Members Spotlight Live today. So we're going live in the Coronavirus Business Support Group today, as well as our AGN Members Group and the AGN Live page. So we welcome today the fabulous Lee Ballard. So Lee's been a member of the AGN group since we started. So he's one of our founding members. He's based up in Nottingham, but originally from Kent, and he does pretty much everything you could possibly think of when it comes to photography, videography. He's even got a drone as well. So we're going to welcome him to obviously the stage. That's not correct, is it? Our live show today to obviously find out more about what he is, what he does, and how he's managed to cope in his business. So welcome everybody. There we go. Lovely. Hi Lee.
Hi Joe. Hi everybody.
You all right? Excellent stuff. So yeah, it's very nice to actually have you on the screen. You're one of the members that hasn't jumped on one of our Zoom calls. So although I've seen you commenting, I've not actually physically, well, I say physically spoke to you, but virtually spoke to you. So it's going to be really interesting just to find out a bit more about you, really, and obviously what you do. As I said, you're based the other end of the country to me and Carly. Obviously, we're down here in Plymouth, so it's really nice to have that kind of stretch across the UK and just, yeah, give us a bit of a rundown. Who are you and what do you do?
Well, as you sort of hinted at, I'm a mainly commercial photographer and videographer. Most of my clientele are industry-based or construction-based and things. I still do photograph real people from time to time.
A few and stuff, yeah.
But yeah, the bulk of my workload is traipsing around building sites or sort of factories and things like that quite often, or even just taking photos of anything as exciting as food or as mundane as sort of hard drive cases and things like that. So it's quite a variety, and it does take me sort of all over the place.
I like that it's diverse, isn't it? And actually, yeah, I expect you on a daily basis get to see all kinds of different things behind the scenes and just making things look beautiful, I suppose, isn't it? I think we're in a very digital and very imagery-based age at the moment, aren't we? And I think actually a lot more people are relying on video and also on photography to kind of sell their businesses and actually show what they do behind the scenes as well, isn't it? So how has COVID and the lockdown and the changes in business really kind of impacted your lifestyle?
Initially, at the start of lockdown, it completely swept the rug out from under me, because when lockdown started, the first thing most of my clients head offices did was wipe out the marketing budget, or at least put all marketing on hold, which most of my work somehow links to, whether it's promotion of a product or promotion of a site or something like that. So that did cause a few issues. We had a couple of months of literally twiddling thumbs. I did some design work for one of my larger clients and bits and pieces, but the bulk of the work just stopped overnight. Then as people started to come off furlough, one of my bigger clients, they didn't officially have a marketing budget again, but they needed a new corporate video and they needed some other bits and pieces, some health and training videos making. So we were sort of busy through sort of July and some of August with that. So yeah, and a few of the other clients have sort of since come back off furlough, and their marketing departments have been given a bit of money again. So we've been doing a few bits and pieces, but it's very different now, and I've changed some of the work I do as well. I used to do some agency work for a couple of clients, and it was more of a low pay, high volume type thing, but that's changed now. So sort of knock that on the head, but I've actually not noticeably lost out from it. So I'm obviously filling the gaps with other stuff now.
Yeah, surprising, isn't it, when you look at kind of what you used to do beforehand. And one thing that I picked up there was the training videos. And I think actually I was talking about this in another group a couple of weeks ago, and actually trying to automate processes and actually take it away from the live training and kind of one-to-one sat with someone and the onboarding side of things when you've got new staff coming on board, or actually being able to teach them how to even use like the technology, I suppose, isn't it, from that point of view. And I said, yeah, doing these training videos, I'm guessing is something that a lot of businesses are starting to kind of think about and kind of look at new ways to actually do business. and actually take the stress out of it. Because if you can just talk once and have it recorded, and obviously split it down into the different modules and bits and pieces, it's a much easier process and time saving for the businesses as well, I suppose, isn't it?
I think what this particular client have discovered is, whilst they had because it's all to do with unloading vehicles and things on site, and whilst they had proper written procedures that were taken through by the people that would be doing the work, a lot of it, there were a few incidents happened on the various sides, people getting their foot caught and things like that. So they went for the video angle, I think, so that you watch the video, and the video is very much how to suck eggs type videos, showing every single step. But that way, once the operatives have watched it and signed to agree they've watched it and understood it, then we've told you everything you need to do now. And rather than having to have a health and safety bloke come down from the factory and explain it to them each time, they can watch the video, then watch the video as many times as they want, if they're not sure. But it is very much every single step has been highlighted, so that there shouldn't be any more excuses for injury. I mean, there will be people injure themselves in the most creative ways sometimes.
Ways, all the time, definitely. Yeah, that's really interesting.
That's something they've done, and they also the new corporate video that I produced for a client was very much based on, look, we're safely working through this. It's not made a big thing out of COVID, but it has sort of highlighted that during the lockdown they've still had, because a lot of their projects are main infrastructure, hospitals, schools, that sort of thing. So they've sort of highlighted the fact that we are still operating. We're operating safely. Most meetings are now taking place online. If people didn't use video calls before, then I think everyone uses them now.
Yeah, definitely. I do wish I bought shares in Zoom beforehand. It would have been a very good idea. Who knew?
Any of them.
Oh, it's a little bit mad, isn't it? But yeah, so obviously it can be quite, I think, especially when you're doing live video, it can be quite draining on your soul, isn't it? And having to look at your face all day long. But actually, it's a really nice way of interacting with people and getting your point across, and actually being able to reach a bigger audience. And I think, as I said, with commercial video, I think this is what's really important about that, isn't it? And actually having it done professionally can make such a big difference, isn't it? Live videos are great, and obviously videos you do on your phone are great, but there's also a massive place for having a structured video that can actually either work for advertising purposes or training. Yeah,
that's it. There's two angles to look at video, and I'll happily teach clients how to use their phones better to produce just a quick Instagram story or things like that. And I often do end up doing that. And then you've got the professional video or photos, which are for the brochures and for the main communication lines. And so there is a balance. And I know a lot of people worry that people can do it all themselves on their phones and things like that, but there's still a balance to be had. A large company isn't going to produce a brochure with purely phone shot images. They're not going to put out a new corporate video on a phone shot image, video. So there's space for us all, really.
Definitely. I think actually, looking at some of the people that we've got perhaps within our Ambition Growth Network group, we've got people that are literally just starting. We've got people that have been doing it, like yourself, for like 10 years. And we've got people that are running kind of a variety of different kind of size businesses, working with different kind of genres of people. And I said, obviously, again, it really does make such a big difference, obviously, your imagery and how you present your company as to the prices perhaps that you can charge as well. And I've found a lot of people that do everything all themselves have to kind of go more on the budget kind of pricing strategies, because it just doesn't look the part really from that point of view, isn't it? And I think obviously your commercial photography is really interesting, isn't it? Obviously, especially working in the types of industry that you're working in, the construction side of things, as I said, obviously, and working with the bigger companies, it's really, really quite good to see what goes on behind. So are you talking about construction for like properties, or is it kind of more industry based? Or
it's sites I've been on vary from sort of single residential property projects up to big multinational sort of new car parks for hospitals, or whole school structures, or one of my other clients, they do a lot of they supply a lot of the utility infrastructure, so gas lines, electric, things like that, and they put in the underground pipe work that you don't see, that it's drilled under you while you're sitting there. That's quite interesting. I've been all over the UK for them. A year ago, we were in Scotland and on a project, and so it's everything from small individual sort of builders completing a house that they need marketing photos for, through to large end stuff. Often depends on how many inductions you have to sit through as to how big the site is.
True. Yeah, it's all about health and safety nowadays, isn't it? And especially everybody seems to have a completely different health and safety policy. I mean, I've worked in property myself for 20 years and worked on sites and done construction, had a building company, and as I say, it's really interesting just to see how everybody's, as I say, differently, isn't it? And I think actually from a behind the scenes type thing, I quite like it, because you can kind of compare and take good bits from one bit and one bit from the other. Actually, as part of our group, it's quite nice to share those experiences. So I think when you're doing business on your own, you kind of get your own experiences, but you don't necessarily see what they're doing, isn't it? And I think it's really good to continue learning. Obviously, one thing that you mentioned as well was that you've got your own studios and that you do courses and obviously teach people how to do photography and videography and bits and pieces like that. So go into a bit more detail. Tell me all about that. That sounds.
Well, I have a studio with a sort of friend of mine, and we've had it for about 18 months now, give or take. And we've been talking for ages about doing courses. I mean, I've done some one-to-one training for people in the past and clients and bits and pieces, either how to get a bit more out of their camera if they don't know what they're doing, or how to light things a bit better, but never proper formal courses. And so we've actually sat down the past few weeks and put together the first of what will be a range of courses. The initial one is basically a very basic introduction to studio lighting, so that if you're a photographer, especially coming into the winter, and you've never set foot in a studio, don't know what you need to be doing, you might be great with landscapes and know your camera inside out, but you may not know how to sort of set up the basics in a studio. It's basically a 3-hour course that people can come to. We've got enough space to have socially distanced training and everything to be safely worked out. That's what we sort of setting it for a maximum of 4 people per course. And then you can come along, get some hands-on experience. And the idea is that you'll be able to then hire a studio for a couple of hours, walk in there, and you'll know the basics of how to get some imagery that you want, rather than having to spend the first hour just working out how to turn this on type thing.
I think it's a concept as well, isn't it? Kind of how to do things. And I think actually, I mean, I'm a great avid learner. I like learning. And there's a lot of the stuff I do from books or audibles or videos, but actually the hands-on side of things and actually being able to go in somewhere and move stuff around makes such a big difference, isn't it? And especially with small groups.
That's it. And then the next stage will be sort of an intermediate course and things like that. And we're looking at some video courses as well. We're just trying to work out different angles to approach things. But one of the other things is, and I'll say this, I mean, YouTube's the second most busy search engine on the planet. So there are videos out there to teach you pretty much anything, but not everyone learns that well off a video. So as you say, the hands-on, you can come in, you can take a picture, move the light or change something and realize how it changes things, and doing it sort of in a tactile way, I think is better quite often for that sort of thing. I mean, there will be people that don't need it, and that's fine, but it has been requested for a while, so we've got a short backlog of people wanting to book on. Yeah,
definitely. I think obviously, I mean, learning's an interesting topic, isn't it? Because obviously my son's just started secondary school, and obviously they've been off for such a long time, and all of a sudden they've gone into secondary school and now they're doing all of their homework on Microsoft Teams. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I've never really used Microsoft Teams. I've used Zoom a lot. I've used lots of other platforms, but as I said, they're all of a sudden being pushed into this technology age and expected to grasp it really quickly. And it's surprising, actually. A lot of a lot of people really struggle with the digital side of stuff, especially on the learning. And they much prefer to actually see it, do it, and actually interact with it, isn't it, from that point of view? But,
that's it. I mean, I've got 2 teenagers. One's just started college, so he would have done his GCSEs this year, but was in the first that batch of we'll award you something. And to be fair, his teachers have said if he'd taken the exams, some of the subjects he may have, lifted a grade or 2, but he had enough. He had good results, so that he got into the college he wanted to. So that's fine. But my youngest is in the year below. So he's lost 6 months of teaching, and whilst the school were doing Zoom classes and sending lots of homework home electronically, there's no way a teenager can learn as well as when they're in the classroom. They get feedback immediately from the teacher and things like that. So, that his year plus the equivalent year in A levels, what are now doing their sort of second year of A levels, I think I really feel for those 2 years, because they've lost a lot by being plunged into, well, you're going to do Zoom lessons now. And, having not had to do that through their entire school life. I mean, hopefully yours, starting off on Zoom lessons. By the time exam time comes along, if that's still a common thread, then, she could be on the ball for it.
Definitely. Life is changing so quickly, though, isn't it? I kind of talk about the schooling system and how it needed a big change going on. I wasn't expecting, I said last year, that this is the change that was going to come from that point of view. But I said, I think it's keeping up with the times, isn't it? And obviously embracing the technology. And one thing that you do is obviously your drone photography and videos. And I said, obviously, this is quite a new thing. I've played around with a few, actually. And it's quite exciting, isn't it, to have it up in the air and being able to see things from that sort of bird's eye view. What kind of jobs have you done with the drone? What kind of?
I almost resisted going down that road for a while, because I thought, I don't need to. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I took the plunge, did the course, got CAA approved and all the rest of it, and have been ever since. And a lot of people seem to become commercial drone pilots expecting it's going to be open hundreds of doors for them. But unless you can offer the client something else, like I was already doing ground video and photography, so it became just another camera. But I mean, I've done some odd anything. I've surveyed fire damaged buildings. I've got some stunning landscapes in Scotland. It is another camera. So we've just used it. I'm just trying to think of the most interesting thing. I had a 1 hour job in Dublin I flew out for with it. So that was probably the most unusual thing I've done with it. Literally got on a plane, Dublin, drove to site, spent 50 minutes on site, drove home, got on the plane, came back.
It's a lot of travelling.
Because I could do a drone job. So it has opened quite a few doors. A few of my clients have come to me after Google searching, drone operators, but they've needed more from that. So a lot. I've shot some stunning properties with it over the years, and things like that for real estate. But getting estate agents to pay a bit more is always the struggle.
I used to work in that realm myself, and unless the property was kind of $500,000 plus, it was very rare that they had like lots of land or outbuildings and things like that. It was very rare that they would want to pay for it, because actually it's kind of one of those things. Actually, when you're living in a property, it's really lovely to be able to see it, isn't it? But you're kind of parting ways with it, so it's almost like they needed to do it earlier, isn't it? And kind of get the stills. Well, sometimes, isn't it? Obviously, a lot of people I see have got stills of their properties and their land and stuff in kind of pictures on the wall and stuff, and it's quite a nice sort of thing to look at, isn't it? But as I said, obviously the videography side of things up in the air can be really quite interesting, isn't it? And I remember I went to a networking event, and a guy there bought his drone camera to kind of give us a demonstration, because again, obviously, when you do it, nobody else flies it, nobody else is party to it. So it almost feels a little bit magical, doesn't it? And he actually let us go with it, and we did it obviously based down here in Plymouth. It was all across the water, actually. So We were right up on the waterfront. I was like, I was petrified that obviously when I was flying it, that I would do something wrong and it would dive into the water, because I'm guessing they don't work very well in water, do they?
No,
Like,
they're not keen on that.
Scary, very, very scary, isn't it? And I think actually, yeah, people don't realise quite how much the equipment actually costs from that point of view.
No, yeah.
Oh my God, I was absolutely flabbergasted when they said. I was like, wow, I can see why you charge the prices you charge now, because
That's it.
yeah.
I inadvertently left £3,000 stuck in a tree for 2 weeks last year. So
Yeah, I mean,
it was one of those split-second things that I misjudged at my height just by a metre, and that was enough to park it.
I know, yeah. So I forgot a funny story actually. I bought a drone for my son for Christmas last year, and we lived fairly close to a big industrial area with a massive, great big car park. So I thought, right, we'll go down there. There's not very much that can go wrong down there. No trees to get it stuck in, and flew it up and it landed on the roof, and then did a flip, and then we couldn't get it off the roof. I was like, obviously, I think it was B&Q or something like that at the time. So so that lasted all of about 4 minutes, I think. But yeah, that was a drone that cost about 50 quid, and he was devastated, bless him. But I didn't realise when you've got obviously the control elements, obviously, for doing the videos, quite how much more expensive that kind of technology is, really, isn't it? So yeah, certainly not 50 quid.
No, that's it. It's, I mean, I suppose my cheapest drone was probably about 1,500. So they're not cheap, but they're a tool for a job. It's like anything else. It's like a camera, a computer, anything else. It is a tool that does a job, and that's it. You know, you have insurance for when things go wrong, and you don't need it very often.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, funny games indeed. Have you ever had a job where it has gone wrong? I know when I was an estate agent, I went out, and again, like you said, when you went to Dublin, obviously it wasn't quite to Dublin, but I'd driven for hours to go to this job, got the camera out, got everything all sorted, and then left the battery on charge in the office, which was 2.5 hours. It's like, oh no, absolutely mortified. And I was like, and it was
the reason I was delayed this morning was because I popped out only sort of 15 minutes down the road to do a quick shoot, then realised I left the camera at home. So first time I've ever done that. It was because normally it's already in the car, so I was fine. But I got there and thought, I'll go and get that. So, but we had one. It wasn't an error I made, but one of my clients, they sent me to Scotland. When was it? About a year ago, last October. So they all could get up there. You know, there's a good job happening on site. So went up, drove up like the night before, stayed in a hotel, got on site for sort of 7 o'clock the following morning. No one was about. I thought, all right, maybe they're in a late start, be here at 8 or something. So I spoke to security, and he said, oh no, he said they've gone home for a few days. He said they finished on last night. So I phoned my client, who was like a sales director. I said, are you aware of this? He said, they didn't tell me. Yeah, they hadn't told anyone in the office that they'd all buggered off home. So yeah, I drove sort of to pretty much to Edinburgh. Spent the night in a hotel and drove home again.
Gutted. Yeah. Oh, that's awful, isn't it?
It was one of those moments that you just sort of think about. I mean, while I was up there, I did get some nice footage and shots, as I had a bit of time. So, but yeah, it was one of those strangest things when the security guard popped out and said, "No, they're not back till sort of midweek."
Yeah, not great. Big old driving is it? Definitely not. Oh gosh. Crazy stuff. So obviously with regards to your photography, obviously you're based in Nottingham. So what kind of areas do you actually cover?
And
Scotland?
As much as I will know, I'll go anywhere. I mean, to give you an example, in July when I was on a project for a client, I was everywhere from Sunderland through to Taunton and Kent. And Southampton, so yeah, we went around deepest, darkest Wales as well. So we were quite a few places for just one project for that, really. So basically, yeah, if they cover the travel, I'll be going anywhere. Yeah, I've been I've been to Iceland and Spain and Portugal and things. So yeah, we're quite happy to go wherever the client needs me.
No, that's fabulous. No, it's good to see, obviously, doing international travel as well, isn't it? Because as I said, obviously, it's difficult, I suppose. Obviously, you've got a client that does international stuff as well, isn't it? And actually, yeah, some stuff in the UK. It's good to keep, obviously. Do you have quite a lot of clients that kind of come back for repeat work with you, and obviously have them?
Yeah, most of my clients are repeat. I mean, there's one or two I haven't heard from for a while, but I think they're going through things due to our current pandemic situation. But yeah, nearly all of my clients do, touch wood, like to come back. So yeah, that's a. I must be doing something right, in my view. Keep picking up the phone and things. So
yeah, fantastic. It'd be really lovely to actually be able to see some of your work. So I suppose after we finish the video, maybe in the comments box, you could pop some of your photos or maybe a link to one of your.
I can stick a website and what have you, probably. That'd be the easiest option, I think, and Instagram and things. Although Instagram also gets pictures of my dinner and things like that as well. So.
Bit of real life in there, absolutely, definitely. I think this is.
I know they say keep your work Instagram just as that, but it doesn't work because you forget to log out of it, and so you end up posting everything on it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a thing, isn't it? But I think obviously business is changing a bit, like everything else in the world is changing, and people actually are buying from people rather than just obviously the product sometimes, isn't it? Because not be funny, in a world where there are hundreds of thousands of videographers and photographers, how do people pick, isn't it? I mean, it's quite a difficult decision to actually go, right, okay, well, which one am I going to choose? I mean, just in the coronavirus business support group, we've probably got hundreds of people doing similar kind of things to yourself. So how do you make yourself stand out? What do you do a bit differently?
I don't know if it's anything different, but you have to sell yourself. I'm terrible at that, but when I do get talking to a client, and if you can produce the goods as well as work with them for things, generally I think they like flexibility. They like someone they can get on with. They like someone that tries to understand what they're doing. One of the things I do with all my clients, especially in industries that I haven't worked in personally and things, is try and understand how their systems work, how the job they're doing works, so that I can create a better video at the end of it, or a better sort of photo story at the end of it. The more you understand what's going on, and this is what one of my clients said, that they keep using me, doesn't matter where they have to send me, because I now understand front to back how the job they do works. So they could hire a local videographer wherever they happen to be, probably for a lower cost because no travel and things. But then they've got to explain to him what they're doing, what he needs to be filming and things like that. Whereas I can go on site, I know most of the gangs by now. I can quickly work out what stage of the process they're at, where things are happening. I can autonomously just wander around and get the footage I know I need.
Definitely, and I think the sort of branding and the business kind of almost that story that they're giving out. Again, obviously, I've used different videographers before, and actually you can tell the difference when you're using different people because they've got a completely different way of putting the video together, or the angles that they use, or kind of how they edit it as well. And I think actually sometimes the editing process is very unique to each person, isn't it? I think from that point.
It is. You try and put a bit of personality in there. Mainly, you're looking for something that sells your client, but you do try and put some of you in there as well. And I see no end of videos that I think are absolutely stunning made by other people, and vice versa. You see a few that think, "Oh, wouldn't pick that music," but that's our choice. That's everyone has their own personal taste, and it is photography, videography. It's all another form of art, so it's all very subjective anyway. I've done creative videos and things in the past that I think are brilliant. Send them to the client, and they're like, "Yeah, don't really like that bit." So, you change it. Fine. What happened? Sometimes something you think is brilliant isn't. That's why there are thousands of different paint colors. Not everyone likes the same shade of white.
Oh, definitely. And it's quite interesting, a personal taste as well, isn't it? I think when you look at obviously different photos of yourself, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Obviously, people don't see what you see in yourself as your flaws, or kind of, oh, that's the wrong angle. No, I don't like this. But actually, unless you verbalize it and kind of fit with the photographer or the person that you've got, obviously that's taking these shots, isn't it? And that's obviously slight different change in angle or lighting can make such a big difference, isn't it?
It can, and I do a lot of as well as normal personal portrait photography and things. I do a lot of headshots for client for commercial purposes and things like that. And the number of times people get in front of me and say, "Oh, I don't really like being in front of the camera," or "I don't like this side of my face, or that side of my face, or this is my better side." And generally, there's nothing wrong with either side. And so if I've got the time, I'll spend sort of 5 or 10 minutes just trying to get them to relax and sort of say, "Look, you're fine. You look great. Stand like that. Just move slightly this way," and things like that. Just to show them in the best. And then I will show them, "Look, you look great on camera, so there's nothing to worry about." But one of the things that the way we do business now, Teams meetings and all the rest of it, everyone's on camera most of the time now for meetings. And so even if you don't like it, because that's how your company now operate, you're in it. You've got to do it. I meet no end of people that hate the sound of their own voice or hate the way they look. I even know professional models that aren't keen on their own faces, but that's just a personal,
I think that we're not supposed to and not used to actually looking at ourselves for such a long period of time. Normally, I think back in the last 10 years, I would have looked at myself in the mirror in the morning when I'm getting dressed and doing my teeth, possibly 2 or 3 times during the day, or catch a glimpse when I'm driving. But actually, sometimes we're spending 5, 6 hours looking at our own faces, listening to our own voices. And it's not a natural thing to do, is it? But practice. And I think actually, you kind of learn to not worry about it quite so much, isn't it? So
that's it. It's like anything, you get used to it, and people get used to it. And 10 minutes in front of the camera with me, and generally someone will be used to it. And quite often, the people that are most nervous are the ones that want more photos. Do another one. I've had corporate jobs where someone that was shy at the start, by halfway through, he or she sort of wanted another 20 photos because they just want to try another one and another one. So,
that's the thing. Yeah.
a lot of the time I'm filming customer testimonials for clients and things, and generally it'd be with someone that doesn't spend a lot of time on camera, and they're having to all of a sudden give this speech about why they chose this product or this client or this option. So that some of them hit it. I had a chap I shot a couple of weeks ago, and one take, spot on, absolutely perfect. That's once in a blue moon. Normally, stuff of their lines or what they're trying to say, and they just sort of get them to relax and pretend the camera's not there. I never get people staring straight at the camera anyway. I always get them, I'll stand to the side and get them to talk to me, because that's normally a bit easier. People tend to relax a bit better when they sort of forget the cameras are even looking.
Yeah, definitely. This is the thing, isn't it? Obviously, cameras are everywhere now, and obviously you can feel quite intimidated, isn't it? Especially if it's the sort of thing that you think, oh my God, it's going to be out there on the web. Everybody's going to be watching it time and time again. In 10 years' time, people are still going to be watching it. So I think it's kind of, it's slightly different, isn't it? Obviously, with the likes of YouTube or kind of websites and stuff. And obviously, you've got to keep it up to date. You've got to keep refreshing and kind of bringing new stuff up. And as I said, we've been looking at obviously updating our website and putting some video content and stuff on there, and just having a look at what competitors are doing and other people have got on the web. It's surprising actually when you do sort of market research, some people have got stuff on there from like 15 years ago and they haven't updated the website in 15 years. And I was like, were websites even invented 15 years ago? Obviously, if you look at the timescales, and it looks so old school now, but I think, as I said, obviously it's such a big investment to be able to get the visuals over, and also to have it so it's it's up to date, Jane. It's obviously it's current, and again, obviously, make sure that it's edited properly, isn't it? I think from that point of view, 'cause it can make all the difference.
That's it. I mean, the old adage is true. A picture does say 1,000 words. So rather than having a very text-heavy website, you can show a lot more with a short video or series of photos and that. And people are coming to expect it. One of my sort of longer-term clients that I've dealt with for years, they've gradually been moving towards more and more video content because they're realizing that people go to their website and that's what they're looking for almost. And it's an easy way to communicate a new product or how something works, or even some of the internal procedures that a client will sort of normally stop at the counter, and they might not realize what happens behind the scenes. So can you show some of, look, this is the process we undertake behind the scenes with your item or with your product in the manufacture or repair or whatever. So I think it's becoming, the internet has obviously been around for quite a while now. But I think now video, the imagery content is becoming more driven. I mean, even go back 10 years ago, Rightmove didn't have that many professional photos on it. A lot of it was estate agent shot stuff. But whereas now the majority of the photos on something like Rightmove are fairly pro level. So people are expecting that. People expect it, especially with what's happened this year. It's more important to show something before someone goes and looks, or before they order it online. They really want a good look at something. And whether it's something as mundane as a water bottle or, as interesting as a house or a car, the more you can show beforehand, the less time you're wasting of yours and other people's.
Oh, definitely. And that's what I love about it, especially explainer videos and kind of those types, unlike the training videos, is that you just have to do it once, and these people can watch it, isn't it, Jane? I mean, I love talking. Don't get me wrong, I love talking. And actually, it's nice to be able to talk to people, kind of, and get to know them, isn't it? But actually, when it comes to the nitty gritty of your business and how it works, it's the same thing over and over again. It's that consistency, I think, as well, isn't it? I'm all up for having a personal experience, but you can have a personal experience, and then when it comes to the training element side of things, maybe the video could be a better option from that point of view. Obviously, before we wrap up today, I'd really love you to give us some top tips. I haven't kind of pre-warned you that I was going to ask you, so you're going to kind of at least 5 things, 5 top tips that you can give us with regards to, obviously, our video and imagery.
Okay. Tip number 1, my pet hate, unless it's going on Instagram, rotate the camera 90 degrees and shoot landscape. It always looks better because your eyes naturally look at things in a landscape fashion. So try and shoot your videos in landscapes. Just turn the phone sideways. Always think, tip 2, I suppose, always think about light. Think about where shadows are falling. Is your subject exposed? If you're in a bright sunny day and you want to take a picture of the person in front of you or the product in front of you, think about where the sun is. Does it look in shadow or is it in direct sunlight? Something on the fly. Tip number 3, if talking about video getting a bit more interesting, audio is very important. You could have the most polished video going. If the audio is poor quality, no one's going to watch it. People will tune out. So you can get away. It's an odd juxtaposition. You can get away with a lower quality video if the audio is higher quality, whether it's speech or music, whatever. Tip number 4, I suppose, would be backup stuff. Have a backup, whether it's on a portable hard drive, on Dropbox, or whatever your chosen iCloud service is. Have a backup of the stuff that's important, not necessarily everything, but whether they're family photos or commercial photos for your business, don't have them sitting on one hard drive or on computer. Have a backup, because the last thing you want is for that drive to go down and you lose them for good. I have hundreds of hard drives everywhere. I've probably got more backups of certain things than I need, but I'd rather have 5 copies of something, then lose one. And the hard drives do fail. I've got a box somewhere with about 3 or 4 dead hard drives in them that have just failed. So be wary that it may not have happened to you, but if it's important, keep it somewhere and keep a couple of copies. And then lastly, try and be creative when you're doing something. If you're taking photos, don't just think about taking them stood up. Kneel down, lay down, climb on the rock. Different angles often help because you're changing that. Everyone sees everything from eye height, whether they're sort of 5'1" or 6'8". They see something from eye height. So by changing that, you're giving a slightly different perspective, and the brain will sort of pay a little bit more attention because it's not the natural angle it would see it at. So that works for photo or video. Just try and be creative. So yeah, and don't be afraid. Try things.
This is the thing. I think obviously when I first think of photography, because you mentioned to me earlier, obviously that basically you've been taking photos as long as you can possibly remember having a camera in your hand. But I think back to obviously when I was a kid, and actually there's no pictures of me as a teeny tiny baby. It's quite sad, really. I was like, oh, I didn't have any photos until I was a couple of weeks old because my parents didn't have a camera, Jane. Yeah. And actually, I think to myself, oh, this is strange, isn't it? But actually, photos were kind of printed out. So you took all these photos over probably a few months and then sent them away in a little, my parents used to have these little kind of envelopes that they put the film rolls in and sent them off. And then they came back. Out of those, there was probably only 3 or 4 photos. I don't know whether my family just weren't very good at taking clear photos, but there was always some blurry ones and black ones. And it was just like really kind of hit or miss. And sometimes you kind of completely missed a birthday because the rubbish photos, you didn't know whether they were any good. And I think today it's so much more forgiving, isn't it? I think obviously you can get instant kind of images. You can see what's doing. You can take 500 and it doesn't really matter because you don't pay per clip now, do you?
What I say to people, even as a commercial, I learned in dark rooms and doing manual sort of developing and things like that. But nowadays, and back then, if you wanted to experiment with something, try a new technique, you had to shoot the roll of film, go and develop it, and then look at the negatives, think, oh, that didn't work. So you just waited half a day. Whereas now you can try stuff, look on the back of the camera or look on the phone, did or didn't work. So experimentation is good. And you can always delete something. You can't take it after the fact. So take more photos than you need, delete what you don't need. There's nothing wrong with that because that data doesn't really cost anything.
It doesn't, does it? Oh, I've got Pete. Pete's just joined us today and said, good tips, thanks. That's really good. Appreciate, obviously, your comments on that. That's really good. So yeah, as I said, what we'll do is we might actually share those top tips within our groups as well, because I think actually everybody comes up with completely different tips, especially when it's on the cuff and they're not expecting it from that point of view. And one thing you said was about audio, obviously, on your videos. And I think, again, it's really, really important, isn't it? I tried watching a video the other day and the person was outside and the wind was just catching on the microphone the whole time, and you could hide Jane. It was painful. It was really difficult to actually listen and understand it from that point of view. But would you suggest little microphones or kind of?
Yeah, if you're doing a lot of your own shot videos, you can get sort of Rode make something called a Smart Lav, which will plug into your iPhone. And so that gives you a sort of lavalier mic, which is the sort that clips onto your collar for a fairly affordable price. And then if you're doing a lot of self-produced videos a lot, that's a great, easy solution. You can get technical and get separate recorders, but if you're doing it on your phone, you want it as simple as you can. But if you're doing it with a camera, if your camera's got an audio input, for £20 you can buy a lav mic on a long cable, plug it in, clip it on. It will just increase the quality that little bit. And yeah, wind especially is a nightmare for audiologists. Most professional sound engineers will tell you how much they despise the wind because that's the thing that causes the biggest problems.
Always tricky. Living by the coast, it says you've got this lovely scenery in the background, but it's always windy every time. And it's really, really difficult to obviously get away from that. But anyway, we are now at 11:45. Gosh, it's gone flying now.
Well,
Absolutely fantastic, and it's been really lovely just to get to know you a little bit more and kind of find out how your ticks, definitely. And as I said, we'll save obviously this little video here today. Obviously, that'll go on YouTube. We have a little YouTube channel, so obviously if you haven't subscribed, make sure you get on there. And as I said, all of our member spotlights are on there, as well as a few others from me and Carly as well. So do make sure you get on there. And as I said, obviously, Lee, if you can pop your website link and any little hints and tips, obviously, in the comments on all 3 platforms as well, that'll be really, really helpful. Yep. So yeah, fantastic stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for staying in my waffle. If I hadn't been delayed, I would have actually been at the studio with a better backdrop and a bigger camera.
Okay, all right, we survived, didn't we? Most of it is just getting that lovely stuff out of your brain, isn't it? So I think that's
and one last tip, as I can share, that might be obvious here. For Zoom calls and things like that, your camera is always looking for the brightest thing in the room. That's why I've got a lamp next to me, because otherwise, without the lamp, I'm in shadow. So if you find yourself on Teams or Zoom or something like that, just put a light to one side of the computer. It brings a bit more warmth into you. So you're not quite as in shadow. I've had Zoom conversations with people, and they're just this silhouette for the entire.
I think some people like that, actually. They like hiding in the shadows. I've got a few people.
Hide in the shadow, then that's fine.
Yeah, quite happy. I don't really want to see any more than just my outline. I was like, oh, okay. I said, but if you are trying to purposely look the best that you can do, and as I said, obviously, interact with people. I've just invested in one of those little ring lamp things from that point of view.
Great. Picking up quite cheap on eBay and things.
I think it was about 30. Again, it kind of just because if I turn it off, the whole thing goes a little bit darker. So I think it's nice to be able to have that light in there, isn't it? So on that note, thank you, Lee. Much appreciated, and I'll catch up with you soon, darling. Thank you. Lovely. Well, that was Lee Ballard. Really lovely that he could come on and share his top tips and all of the stuff that he was teaching us about, obviously, photography and video, and also the drones, which is really exciting. I'd love to get a drone video done. So obviously, just before we go today, I'm just going to obviously pop up a little thing that we talked about in our group yesterday. So it's called Challenge 100. And while I'm on here, while I've got the opportunity to speak to you guys today, obviously I'm going to ask for some help. Help is one of the most difficult things, I think, in a business that you have to try and ask for. So I'm going to do it, get it out there. So Challenge 100. So we are asking you guys to try and help us reach 100 Ambition Growth Network members by the end of November. It was something that me and Carly obviously put as our 90-day goals, and we're nearly halfway through. So we do still need to get another 46 members on board. So we are offering a free week trial to any person that would like to give it a try. So if you can offer it to your network, or if you are interested yourself, as I said, just send either me or Carly a quick message and we shall get you in there. And if you refer anybody, we will also reward you with some cash. So if you're interested, just drop us a line, obviously either myself, Joe Lyons, or Carly Somerville, just via Messenger, and we will tell you some more about it. So thank you so much, guys. And if you are interested in becoming a member, obviously just let us know. Our website address is ambitionandgrowthnetwork.co.uk/membership. And again, don't forget to like our page, Instagram, or on Twitter. We're everywhere, actually. So I'm sure you will find us, and we'd be lovely to actually help you and support you through your business journey. So thanks, guys, for listening today. Take care. Bye.